I like to think in Photoshop that there are a lot of ways to solve the different problems that we have when we are retouching images. Something in particular that I face a lot when I'm shooting my fitness work is subjects whose bodies might be one tone and then their face is not. As you can see with this example here, where my subject's body has quite a bit of tan to it and his face is basically not. So a very easy solution that I've come up with to deal with things like that is something that I think you could apply to lots of different scenarios, whether it is specifically dealing with somebody who's got, say, a golf tan or whatever the case is, or even when you have an area that has a different color than the rest of the image and you want to try to even things out. So here's what I've been using as a solution that I think maybe you'll find useful as well. First thing I'm going to do here is make a very rough selection of my subject's face and copy that, paste it into the exact place that it is. From there, I'm going to change the mode of this layer to multiply. As you can see, already the image gets a lot darker and very much more saturated. The saturation is not something that I necessarily want. So what I'm going to do from there is just open up the hue saturation dialog by hitting Command U on my Mac. From there, I'm just going to affect the saturation. You can see at minus 100%, it takes all those reds out, everything's gone that was negative. However, it's just a little too much. You can see the rest of his skin has some of those reds and yellows that we want to keep. So I'm just going to scale that back and probably end up right around -60. Now, this is not a hard and fast number. You just have to visually guide yourself here and do what feels correct. From there, I'm going to make this layer a mask layer, and that's just another way of working non-destructively. And essentially what you're going to do is paint the things that you want to keep in the image there and paint the things that you want to get rid of in the image out. So using my brush tool at 100%, the pretty soft brush, I'm going to just paint away that extra little bit that I selected when I made the initial selection. The nice thing here is that it's not like I needed to go in with a pen tool and specifically choose every little piece of his face and the hairs and all that stuff. And this is just an easy way to deal with it. Now from there, we've already see quite a bit of improvement, a lot more even. However, by using that layer as a multiply layer, his eyes are quite a bit darker. Obviously, there's a lot of blacks in the hair. His teeth got darker. Some of the things that we don't want to have. So again, I'm going to use my brush tool. I'm just going to go with a little smaller brush, still keeping it very soft. And I'm going to change my opacity to, say, 34%. And there, again, I'm just going to paint away the parts that I want to get back to where they were originally, like the eyes and the teeth. Now, again, because we're working in a mask, anything you want to go back to, you simply just hit the X key, switch back to white, and now you can paint those areas back in. So that works really well. I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. Now, I still don't love how heavy some of the skin is. He does have some tanning stuff on his face. So again, I'm going to just go with a very light brush, 23%, let's say. And I'm just going to paint away the parts that are just feeling a little too heavy to me, especially around the eyes, under the nose, and in general around those jawline. I'm going to change the size of my brush, add a little bit of shape to the hair by just going in and touching away some of those shadows, getting under the eyes and around that nose. Anything I see that I don't like. Now, if there's an area that is bright, again, I can just switch back to the white and paint it back in. Now, this looks pretty good as is, but I'm going to take it one step further. The next thing I'm going to do, which I showed in an earlier video, is open up a dodge and burn layer, change my opacity to 6%, and zoom in. And from here, I'm just going to go and darken and lighten the areas that I really want to add the shape to this and even up that face as much as possible. Now, just doing this quickly, you'll be able to see quite an improvement. Obviously, when I spend more time on it, it gets it exactly where I want it to go. Forehead is a bit brighter, so I'm just going to darken that with shading. The nice thing I find with the shading is that it's not quite as saturated, so it's a way of getting the changes I want without getting too heavily saturated or anything like that. So very quickly, you can kind of see how fast and easy that is. Let's go back to the original by clicking off those two new layers, and you can really see the improvement in the image. If at that point I still feel like it's too heavy, I can play with the opacity and just get it to subtly where I want. This is something that you're going to just have to feel through. It's not exact numbers here. So I'd like to stress that, and every image is going to be different. But I think overall you can see quite an improvement on the big issue that we had with this image, which was his face being so bright. So good luck. Hope you like this one.